Good evening and welcome. I am Amarachi Ubani. Tonight, Boko Haram launches multiple suicide attacks on a housing estate in Damaturu, Yobe State. 18 people killed. Chief of Defense Staff and other service chiefs brainstorm in Port Harcourt on how to meet the December ultimatum given by the federal government on defeating Boko Haram. Senate says it is in receipt of a petition against ministerial nomination of former River State Governor Rotimi Amechi. And Russia says it has launched rocket strikes on Islamic State in Syria.
And on business news tonight, Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, MAN, supports federal government's decision not to endorse the ECOWAS-EU Economic Partnership Agreement.
And on sports news tonight, FIFA's Ethics Committee recommends suspension of Sepp Blatter after Swiss Attorney General opens criminal proceedings against him.
We begin tonight with an update on the multiple bomb blasts that occurred today at Buhari Housing Estate in Damaturu, Yobe State. The death toll is set to have risen to 18. The injured have been taken to the Sani Abacha Specialist Hospital and are receiving treatment. Our correspondent, Shewan Kimbaloye, has more.
Ripped apart, obviously shattered scene of the multiple bomb blasts in Damaturu, the capital of Yobe State in Nigeria's northeast region. Blood everywhere as residents try to cover them up with sand. Pets and other animals are not spared in a dastardly act. Properties and businesses are torn apart. Security operatives are on guard, keeping close eye on the scene of the attack as residents look on, shell-shocked. According to the police, a first explosion went off at a Fulani local settlement on the outskirts of Damaturu, the state capital, while the other two were carried out at the Muhammadu Buhari Housing Estate in Damaturu metropolis. Indeed, a devastating series of events which leaves a sour taste in the mouths of everyone here.
The late child is my own son.
A witness at the scene of the blast and the father of a university undergraduate killed in the blast, Muhammadu Damagum, narrates his ordeal. Is distressed as it tells us that his child was due for registration into the Yobe State University when a sad incident occurred.
Early in the morning, we had two sounds of heavy bomb. When we heard that sound, he said, let him come out and check whether is something going on wrong or nothing, something like that. He just came out. Immediately as he came out, he saw one suicide bomber approaching him. So in the result of to stopping the suicide bomber, so unfortunately the boy, he just grabbed the suicide bomber. So the thing just exploded. So that's what actually happened. Immediately I had that heavy sound. I came out. As I came out, I saw them lie down here, and him and the suicide bomber pieces.
At the Sani Abacha Specialist Hospital in Damaturu, relatives of victims as well as sympathizers besieged the emergency unit. More bodies are brought in. Emergency operatives rally around to save more lives. The obviously overwhelmed facility is fully occupied. Every inch of this room lies one injured person or the other. Where beds are exhausted, medics attend to victims on the floor. A helping hand even for those who cannot lift a limb.
Meanwhile, the Nigerian Army says the troops of the Army 120 Task Force Battalion in Yobe State have killed more than 100 fleeing terrorists at Goniri area of the state. A statement issued by the acting director of Army Public Relations, Colonel Sani Usman, says that 7 soldiers died while 9 others were wounded when the terrorists attempted to invade the military base at Goniri earlier today. The statement adds that the troops recovered 1 general-purpose machine gun, 2 rocket-propelled grenades, 9 AK-47 rifles, and belted rounds of 7.62 NATO ammunitions. Various wires used for improvised explosive device, 7 primed IEDs, different types of spanners and a torchlight were also recovered. Colonel Usman says that the troops had consolidated on the encounter and would continue blocking any fleeing terrorists using the Nigerian Air Force aerial bombardment and other troops' artillery fire. The Chief of Defense Staff, General Abayomi Olonishakin, the Chiefs of Air Staff and Naval Staff, as well as other senior officers of the Nigerian Armed Forces, have converged on 97 Special Operations Group of the Nigeria Air Force in Port Harcourt, the River State capital. General Olonishakin told journalists that the service chiefs were meeting to re-strategize on military operations. The CDS expressed optimism that in spite of the recent resurgence of Boko Haram attacks in parts of the country, and the recent explosion in Damaturu, Yobe State, the Nigerian Armed Forces is poised to meet the president's deadline to end insurgency by the end of the year.
The operational readiness and preparedness of the troops and see how we can enhance their efficiency. We're working on it and we are readdressing our strategies to ensure that we comply with that. I must say that we'll sympathize with the families of those who have lost their dear ones in that incidents, and the military is on top of it to ensure that we'll checkmate such reoccurrences.
To discuss the attacks in Yobe State, I'm being joined now on the news at 10 by a retired Army officer, Colonel Hassan Stanlabo. Colonel, you're welcome to the news at 10.
Thank you, Amarachi.
Why do you think these attacks have become rampant lately? This week we've recorded at least 4 or 5 attacks in northeastern Nigeria.
To start with, let me let you know that that is fourth generation warfare for you. It takes an asymmetric dimension, and like it is, we must be frank with ourselves. Nothing will actually work in the course of all the actions we're taking if the preventive terrorism initiatives that should be put in place or implemented are not being implemented. For instance, if I may just ask, what has gone or what has happened to all the national security reports we have come out with, okay, emanating from past incidents like this? As we talk right now, are we sure that all DPOs all over the country have this liaison with motor park management committees, with all crowded places within the local government areas? What is happening with all this? Are we sure that we have put in place, for instance, all the various measures that are expected to be in some of these locations?
If I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying
Yes.
the problem is not that we have not re-strategized or that we do not have a strategy in plan. The
Yes.
problem is implementing the strategy.
That is it. We set up, or immediately after most of these blasts, especially when this things just started, I know that a lot of security reports were emanating after each blast. Do we just come out with these reports and, as usual, they become furniture in our offices, part of the furniture in the office, or we're actually implementing them? We should be, walking the talk and not just talking the talk.
I want to point out something that one of the eyewitnesses said in the reports on the Yobe blast, the Damaturu blast. He said a young boy came out of the house, and when he heard the first explosion that went off, and then he came out to find out what was going on, and then he saw a suicide bomber walking towards him, and then, well, he gave his life, possibly saving numerous others who would have also died in that blast. Is it possible to identify these people amongst us, in communities? If one person, a common citizen, could have identified a suicide bomber, how difficult is it for the military to identify one?
Amarachi, unfortunately, the bulk of us Nigerians are seeing this battle or ongoing war as if it's just a military affair. This is not a conventional warfare. I think we need to keep drumming this into our ears.
So how do we
This
fight it?
is an asymmetric warfare. It therefore means that you and I have got to be fully involved and avail assistance to the military. Why the military will provide the lead, so to speak, especially where insurgency is concerned, because that is where lines of operations can easily take care of such. We have much to do in terms of the intelligence aspect, providing a lot of information. Okay? So that the information we avail the military can easily be used. But unfortunately, we are not seeing things like this going on. All right? And more so, the point I'm trying to also make is that, look, there needs to be a reasonable amount of citizenship involvement. We must make sure that Nigerians are taking ownership of their security, taking ownership of security of their neighbors, taking ownership of community security. We must all be involved.
And
that ownership angle is still being let down, and that is where the NOA comes in. The NOA is sleeping.
Okay.
I have not walked into any departmental store and see any leaflet from the NOA telling me what to do.
Colonel Stanlabo, we'll have to continue this discussion some other time. Thank you so much for joining us on the News at 10.
Okay.
Really appreciate your being here. I've been speaking with Colonel Hassan Stanlabo, a retired army officer, on the recent blasts in the country, especially the one that happened earlier today in Yobe State in Damaturu. In part 2 after the break, Kogi State PDP begins governorship campaign, promises voters better deal. That's in a moment. Please stay with us.